The Digimon TCG is so hot right now that players from all over the world are having tournaments before the game has a global release. So today I'm going to share with you the deck that won the Digirumble event on Tabletop Simulator, plus some tips from the player who piloted it himself, one of my good friends, Alex. Take it away! What's up, Alex? Congrats on your W. Since you're here, why don't you show everybody your deck? It's super cool.
Okay, so the deck that we currently have today is Fast Omegamon Red. And the thing about this Fast Omegamon Red deck is that it was not used by standard tournament rules. The structure of the tournament is that there was a Mulligan involved. And because of the Mulligan, you have a chance to reshuffle both your security and your hand at the start of the game, which meant that you can play for a bit more gimmicky tech options because you're not sacrificing consistency.
So that really shows to how the tournament structure kind of factored into your deck building and gameplay.
Right. So personally, I'm very indifferent about whether this game has Mulligan or not. While it did feel really nice, this game is very much so playable, quote unquote, without the Mulligan because you can just hard cost things. And then if you have another piece of the evolution line from that point on, you're totally fine. But yeah, definitely factored in the Mulligan within the deck building. For example, normally I run 14 rookies in a standard deck because I feel comfortable. But because there's Mulligan, I ran 12 instead because with 12, I feel like I was going to be able to consistently see it, especially with the Mulligan. And then I can afford to run more tech options.
Awesome. But the fans really want to know, why Starter War Greymon? Especially when you have a cheaper costed one from the booster set.
Right. So the Starter War Greymon initially started as a meme. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I didn't know what deck to bring, and my friend thought it'd be really funny if I took Starter War Greymon. So I did. And it worked out really well because initially the logic behind it, after we memed about it, was purple players really like to slam Piedmon. They hand you like anywhere from 8 to 10 memory off of the Piedmon slam. With War Greymon, if they didn't revive a blocker, you can Digivolve all the way to War Greymon and swing for 4 damage if you have Greymon in your source. And if not, you swing for 3 damage. And it's a really big tempo swing because you just knock all their security in one go. And the thing is, War Greymon, if it breaks 14k, which isn't exactly the hardest thing because all you need is a rookie and then Digimon, you break 14k, which then means nothing in purple security is actually able to kill the War Greymon. So it's guaranteed free damage.
So looking at your deck list, I noticed that you have a bunch of cheaply costed evolution cards. Why is this important when you're building a Digimon deck if you're just starting out?
So in this game, you have vanilla cards and you have cards with effects. Cards with effects are generally higher costed than those with vanillas because obviously they come with effects, and while vanilla cards are significantly cheaper because they don't have effects. And the reason you play vanilla cards in Fast Omega is because you want to ramp into Omegamon as quickly as you can because it's level 7. So you trade off tempo that you may gain like during the early to mid game portion while you're ramping up, but then once you get to the Omegamon part, you're sitting really, really good because now you have this 15k body, you pop the body, and you're swinging twice potentially with 2 damage. You swing off a Greymon.
Sounds good for my deck too. So is there any specific matchups that you feel your deck would struggle against outside of what you mentioned?
So going through this tournament, I played into a lot of Wolf Force and Fast Omegamon Blue specifically. I also played into a wide variety of decks like Mega Zoo, which is you just play Megas and you slam them hard onto the board, and a little bit of green. Didn't face any yellow, but in my experience, Fast Omega does really well into yellow because they can't pop a 15k body without 4 Tamers set up for their Shine Greymon. I think throughout my experience, the mirror is fairly skill oriented. A lot of people say it's just, hey, flip Omegamon first, but it's a little bit more than that. It's a lot of timing. If you bring your Omegamon out first and then you lose to your opponent's Omegamon, you lose a lot of tempo. So you have to be really aware of that. So the blue-red mirror for the Omegamon, it can be tricky. And I also think purple has a really solid matchup into this deck. While you do have Vulcantramon to break their board, Piedmon is a really good counter slam to the Vulcantramon. So you have to be really careful about that, especially when they have so much removal for the Omegamon in the forms of Vengeance or Trump Sword.
And finally, what tips would you give to Digimon players who are just starting out that want to get into the digital world?
So I think it's really important to understand what your win con is and how you want to streamline to that win con. For example, if you play Fast Omega, well, your win con is getting to Omegamon as quickly as possible. So you wouldn't waste cards in your deck on, expensive cards. say Metal Greymon and stuff like that. War Greymon normally falls into the issue where it's just too expensive compared to say Phoenixmon or Volcandramon. But it came up really often, especially in the purple matchup, but otherwise it doesn't make sense. A friend of mine, Antinomy, in the official, not official, but the unofficial fan Digimon Discord, which is really big in the West at the current moment, he did the calculations for ratios as to what is the most optimal ratio so you don't pick your deck. And for those of you that don't know, it's 12 to 14 rookies, 10 to 12 champions, 8 to 10 ultimates, and then 6 to 8 megas, and then 18 cards that you feel comfortable seeing in your security. And you can play with those ratios as you want, because obviously some decks require different ratios, like Purple wants a lot of rookies if you do the Rookie Rush variant. But that's a really general guideline that players that are trying to get into the game can use when you're deck. And I strongly advise that you don't be afraid to experiment, because there's a lot of really crazy stuff you can do in this game, especially because you can mix and match with the variable sources. Just recently, a new Omegamon list topped a really big tournament. It was like 40 plus people. It was Vicemon Omega, which quite literally goes against everything that Omegamon stands for, being cheap evolution. They go into Vicemon, who's a 4-memory evolution. It's the same concept as starter deck War Greymon, and you just slap your opponent for all their security. So, go out there and try a lot of new things.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on. Is there any closing words you would like to give to my viewers, as well as anybody who's joining us?
Digimon is a really great game. I transitioned from Yu-Gi-Oh! And I transitioned from Vanguard. I did pretty well in both those games. I topped in tournaments. But this game, for me, feels really, really good. Everything feels very balanced. It feels really fair. Everything has an appropriate cost to it. The reveals for Set 3 leaked yesterday, although I don't know what yesterday is in terms of the video. But I spent the entire day trying to break whatever new cards they gave us. I was like, hey, does this card break with this card? And the answer is no. Bandai did a really good job so far of foolproofing their game and future-proofing it really well. So I hope Bandai does a really good job keeping that up, and I look forward to seeing what they have in store for us, especially their market.
Awesome. Well, this has been Winning Image and my good friend Alex. We actually go to school together. But and thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all next time with more Digi content.